What is up, Lions fans? It's the Analytics Den here. And guys, I got some pretty big news. I've gotten some hearing aids. I don't know if you guys can quite see them on there, but so yeah, as you guys, I'm medically deaf in my right ear, and so I had to get a hearing aid on it, and I just wanted to give it a try. And so yeah, I just wanted to test out my first stream with the hearing aids on, see if I hear anything different, and yeah. And of course, I also want to do some Lions talk, just see what life is like. Maybe also just show up in some drip. And yeah. So, first thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Detroit Lions is the Seattle Seahawks game, but also the recent news of the fact our next three quarterbacks are going to be absolutely trash everyone to face. We are going to be facing Geno Smith, Brian Hoyer, and Cooper Rush. Now, ironically, I think out of the best out of those three, Cooper Rush actually might be the best out of the three. Maybe Geno Smith, but he's had mixed results. So, first off, talking about this, so we are actually favored by some people to beat Seattle. In fact, ESPN, which generally doesn't give us a good matchup predictor, gives us over a 60% chance to beat Seattle. So much so that we actually have a 63.6% chance, nearly a 64% chance of beating the Seattle Seahawks, even with injuries such as Tracy Walker out for season, John Kaminsky out for some unknown amount of time with hand surgery. DeAndre Swift will most likely be missing this game. Monroe St. Brown actually should be good to play in this game, and yeah, it's there's some players that actually have a good chance. Maybe even Jonah Jackson gets to play this game. And we're still favored to go above Seattle, who is also 1-2, just like us. So first off, I do think we maybe need to compare season leaders. It'd be a good idea to maybe kind of examine both sides of the football. So Geno Smith, he has, in 3 games of playing, he has 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He has 717 yards on 102 attempts. Jared Goff has 748 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I don't know really the context to these interceptions. I have not watched Geno Smith fully play. I've only watched his Denver game because I do try to watch Denver games now that I'm going to my mission there on October 24th. So I'm like, oh, I'll catch up on that. But Geno is tied with us in interceptions, has less touchdown and less yards. So we obviously have the better quarterback in Jared, who also is second in the league in catchable ball percentage. And so we got some stuff there. Excuse me, actually, I'll be back real quick. And now I'm back. Okay. Yo, what up, One Pride? And so if we just compare a little bit more, especially if you have the context to the Jared Goff interceptions, especially. So Jared Goff's 2 interceptions. One was a miscommunication from TJ Hawkinson and Jared Goff. And the other was just kind of trying to make something out of nothing at the end versus the Minnesota Vikings after we blew the game. So his interception's kind of fluky, not too bad. It's very adjustable. I don't know about Geno's. Very well could be the same thing. It might have been a miscommunication, might have been an interception. So these are overall pretty quarterbacks that I think probably you're most likely not going to get an interception out of. The next is Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift as our leaders. Unfortunately, we're going to be having to compare Jamal Williams to Rashad Penny since DeAndre Swift is most likely missing action with a shoulder injury. So Rashad Penny has 32 carries and 141 yards. If we look here, he has 0 touchdowns on the season with a 4.4 yards per carry on 32 attempts. His game log is pretty interesting. So he's not reached 70 yards quite yet, and he's had a 5 yards per carry game and a 4.7 yards per carry game. So basically, kind of close to 5 yards per carry. He's a pretty decent running back. He barely had any attempts versus San Francisco and was shut down. I don't know. I don't think we'll be able to repeat San Francisco's performance, but it is something to look at. So there's that part there. And then we'll go and compare Jamal Williams real quick. This would work for me. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm trying to make sure this doesn't go away. Jamal Williams on his stats. So Jamal Williams on the season has 4 touchdowns, 4 more than Rashad Penny. He's averaging 3.9 yards per carry, not nowhere near as good as Rashad Penny's, and 168 yards. His game log has him at 2 out of his 3 games. He's gotten 2 touchdowns. He said in the last 2 games, he's at 4.4 yards per carry. His only bad game was versus Philly, where he was mostly used in short line situations. He's not nowhere near as explosive as a running back, I would say, as Penny or DeAndre Swift, but he's a very effective short and intermediate back. He also has some pass catching potential. It's something he's always been able to do ever since he's been in college at BYU. And so it's something to look at in that regard. But I definitely say the Seahawks have the edge at running back, just in terms of explosiveness and dangerousness. But Jamal in his own right is good. And we all know how good Craig Reynolds has been when he's been given opportunities. So Craig Reynolds, when he played his last Craig Reynolds played in his game last season in a game log. If we look there, he averaged last season 4.2 yards per carry. He did not reach a touchdown, kind of similar to Rashad Penny. He was a very effective yardage rusher, but wasn't really used maybe in goal line situations or just couldn't get a touchdown quite. If we look at the little game log here for for Craig, last season when he actually had like a good amount of carries, which is Arizona and Denver, he got 4.3 yards per carry and 7.5 yards per carry. Those were his only games where he got like a good minimum attempts besides for Atlanta, where Atlanta he only averaged 2.6 yards per carry on 11 attempts. He has been a little bit more inconsistent lately. We do have the memories of Arizona and Denver, but he, in my opinion, is also a good backup option, has shown potential. In fact, he was top 5 in yards after contact last season and was honestly doing a pretty good job. But overall, I don't think he's also going to be as good as the backup rookie from Michigan State, Kenneth Walker. So I just think overall, Seattle has themselves a better running back core right now since DeAndre Swift is out. Now, luckily, of course, we do have the O-line, which is doing amazing in yards before contact for our boys. And so that's going to be going good for us in that regard. So then we're going to be comparing, I guess, the next receiving yard leader. So Tyler Lockett versus Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is kind of already shown there. Tyler Lockett is yet to have a receiving touchdown, and he has less yards on only 2 less receptions than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Overall, Amon-Ra has been a lot better of a receiver. If we compare here, Tyler does have 10 yards per catch on average. His game log is also a little bit more interesting, where he does have an 100-yard game versus San Francisco. Game was 11.9, and he had a pretty decent day versus the Atlanta Falcons, where he got 76 yards. So overall, he's a pretty reliable receiver, and I do think this is maybe the guy that we maybe might put Jeff Okudah on, which you may be surprised to say, considering the fact DK Metcalf's on the team. I'll get into that later. I do think I'm going to be doing a lot more of a deeper dive on here. But if you also compare Amon-Ra St. Brown to Tyler Lockett in this regard, Amon-Ra, of course, has his 3 more touchdowns. He's averaging 1 more yard per catch than Lockett. And he is questionable, but I do think he's probably going to play. They're pretty optimistic and positive that he's probably going to play. So I kind of see this what's going to happen. If we even look at the game log of Amon-Ra overall, just have been a little bit more successful. He had the 2 touchdown game versus Washington, even getting 12.9 yards per catch. He had 116 yards, along with the 2 big rushing carries. And then, of course, his Philly game was also pretty solid, getting himself a touchdown and 64 yards. In Minnesota, he was robbed of a touchdown, as we all know, but he also had 73 yards in the day. So overall, he's been a really effective receiver. You're probably guaranteed at least a 60-yard day, maybe even a touchdown in most cases. So pretty good receiver to have on right there compared to Seattle, where you got Tyler Lockett, and we go, okay, well, what about DK Metcalf? It's going to probably be next. So this is where I'm going to start comparing the receiver depth here. So Seattle does have everyone knows of DK, man from Ole Miss, the shredded beast himself. So DK has actually had kind of a weird down year. In 3 games of playing, he has 135 yards, 1 touchdown, and 8.4 yards per catch. His best game was versus Atlanta. On 12 targets, he got 64 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. His other games, he didn't even reach 40 yards. I don't know, maybe this is a chemistry issue between Geno Smith and maybe DK, or maybe just the scheme is not suited to DK's strengths under the Geno Smith quarterback scheme. So this could be, I think this is more of a Seattle and Geno issue than a DK issue, but right now he's just not the dominant receiver he generally has been. And if you compare that to maybe our backup receivers, he's very similar to us in that regard. Josh Reynolds, in fact, actually has more yards than him. 162 yards. He's averaging 6.2 yards a catch, and he has himself a touchdown to his name. DJ Chark is not been very successful as we've known, and so I'm not saying Josh Reynolds is better, but right now DK is just not being used enough to have a better game than Josh Reynolds. So, and I do think Chark is going to start bouncing back. They've been really close on their ability to play together, Jared and Chark, so we'll start getting some stuff out of that. I do think this is also going to be a good opportunity because Seattle's defense isn't exactly filled with elite corners as well. So this is not like we're facing at least a really good player here and there. Seattle's defense is ranked 20th in the league, and so also already it has been pretty good though. So we'll see what happens there in regards to like not letting a team blow them out. So this is not like a pushover defense. Now we're gonna compare. So I think we can compare defense in there. So Seattle is going to have some names to their table. So Seattle has Shelby Harris, Al Woods, Punya Ford, I assume. If you guys know the answer to that, just let me know. Daryl Taylor, Jordan Brooks, Cody Barton. This is some boss music right here. Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe. And then the corners are Mike Jackson, Tariq Woolen, Justin Coleman, Lions legend, Artie Burns, Trey Brown, Kobe Bryant, and Sidney Jones. The safeties are Josh Jones and actual Lions legend, Quandre Diggs. And compare that to our defense. As we know, we are ranked a little bit lower, mostly due to scoring defense. We need to improve there. We have Charles Harris, Aleem McNeils, Michael Brockers, Aiden Hutchinson, Malcolm Rodriguez, Alex Anzalone, Chris Board, Amani Oruwariwe, Kirby Joseph, Deshaun Elliott, Jeff Okuda, Mike Hughes. And our strong safety apparently is Kirby Joseph, and our free safety is Deshaun Elliott. So ESPN's wrong in this regard. Kirby Joseph is the free safety, and Elliott is going to be the strong safety. And Juju Hughes is actually to be starting free safety over Kirby Joseph, although I would like Kirby over Juju. And so that's a little bit of a comparison. So our defensive rankings, let me pull it up real quick. Detroit Lions 2022. So Detroit has struggled a little bit. This is actually where I will give maybe my more negative take. I'm starting to think Aaron Glenn should be on the hot seat, maybe even fired soon. Our defense is ranked 32nd in the league. And this may be a bit controversial. It might be like, oh, it's a trash players. I mean, yes, but it shouldn't be this trash. This is an issue. We are the worst defense in the league. We are ranked 32nd. We have Charles Harris. We have Aiden Hutchinson. We have Aleem McNeil. We have Rodrigo. We have Jeff Okuda. We had Tracy Walker. And we have Elliott. Those are players that are decent. We have players that are good enough to make us at least a top 25 defense, not the 32nd. We have allowed 30 plus points in 2 of our games. I'm sorry, we have allowed 24 points or more every game we've been in. That is unacceptable. Our offense cannot be perfect. I don't care how good your offense is. We could have the Kansas City Chiefs offense as we just saw. No offense is going to be perfect every game. We need the defense to step up, and I think Glenn needs to step up. I think this is mostly a schematic issue. We've been putting Aiden Hutchinson at 3-tech too much, and I just don't think that's a good idea, especially now that John Kaminsky's out. Our run defense has been hurt because of it. I think our pass rush has been hurt because of it. I think Aiden Hutchinson will get a lot more pressures and maybe even more sacks if he started playing more at the edge position, where he's better suited. I just think it's just not a good look for our team. So I do think I'm going to have to get the Seattle defense over our Detroit defense, and just in general overall, I do think we have the better pass rush. In fact, we were leading in pressures before week 3. I don't know if we still are, because stats have not been finalized. But that's like the only good thing we have right now is pass rush and Ryokuda, who has been amazing these last couple of games. So just overall, it's just we need more improvement from the defense if we're going to start beating more teams. I think our defense has, at least since we have the pressure and the ability from Aiden Hutchinson and Charles Harris and Ali McNeil and etc., and we can have ourselves a W. And I think it's good enough that we can maybe even hold them to 17 points. Just because of that pressure. But we need to see more, especially in secondary plays. We need to see more creative play designs. We also maybe just need to see Hutchinson not be at 3-tech so much. It's great in certain packages. We've seen good plays at Hutch at the 3-tech spot, but not so much. He's been playing way too many snaps there, and we need someone that's at the edge, not just someone who can fill in at the defensive tackle position. Now, I do think that will go down when John Kaminsky returns, and also when Josh Pascal returns, along with Levi Onwuzurike whenever he does. And that way we'll stop having to play the defensive tackle spot there. But right now, those guys are not going to be back. So I am a little bit worried that we're going to keep putting Hutch at 3-tech. I think we should maybe just start putting Demetrius Taylor there a little bit more. He had a promising preseason camp. I think it's better than just making our number 2 overall pick obsolete at times. But yeah, so that's my comparison. I think on offense, we completely will dominate. We are the highest scoring offense in the NFL. We have scored 35 or more in 2 games, and we also scored 24 points in the 3rd game. We just need to be a little bit more effective, man. We need to be effective, and we need an offense to be good. I'm predicting a 28 to maybe 21, maybe a 31 to 21 game. Decided to change it up a little bit, but I think that's where my little comparison is there. I do also want to maybe start shutting down some of this Hutchinson hate I've been seeing. So I've been seeing Trayvon Walker's been playing objectively better. Because, oh my gosh, he had an interception week 1 that was thrown directly at him. Or, oh my gosh, he had this amazing pass defense. He's just better all across the board. Trayvon Walker is not even the 2nd rookie edge rusher in career pressures right now. George Karlaftis and Aiden Hutchinson have more pressures. At least just for the first 2 weeks, too. Again, stats are not finalized. But right now, Trayvon is not getting the pressure Aiden Hutchinson or even George Karlaftis is making. And that's not even counting the fact that Kayvon Thibodeau has not even been playing. And you guys don't know Kayvon Thibodeau, but who knows? Maybe he gets the pressures that Trayvon Walker does. Right now, he's being edge 3 in pressures. He's behind Aiden Hutchinson in sacks. He's behind Aiden Hutchinson in quarterback hits. Aiden Hutchinson is the 2nd most double-teamed edge in the NFL. Not rookie class. NFL. The amount of hate he's not getting because he's not filling up the box score is absolutely ridiculous to me. No edge is supposed to be perfect, especially the number 2 overall rookie. I get he has a high expectations, especially from Lions fans, but no edge is perfect. It makes no sense to me that because maybe Aiden doesn't fill up the box score every game that he's just suddenly not that good. It's just, I don't know. It's the closest thing to asinine I've ever seen. Let's even just take a look at Nick Bosa real quick in his rookie season. probably the guy that a lot of people compared him to just because 97 and other reasons. Pitt, 0 sacks, 1 solo tackle, 1 QB hit. Was Nick Bosa not worth the number 2 overall pick? Was he not the best player in his class because he had a 0 sack game and 1 tackle? Here it happens again versus Los Angeles Rams. Here he does. Here he doesn't. He does the same thing. Here he doesn't even get a sack, but hey, at least he gets some tackles. More often than not. In fact, he only got 9 on a 16 game season. It's just ridiculous that everyone's expecting Aiden Hutchinson to get sack after sack after sack after sack or fill up a box score when the guy who had one of the best rookie seasons ever for an edge rusher also had games where he was shut out. I mean, it's just crazy to me. Why is this expectation that Hutch has to be always dominating in every single part of the game in order for him to be good? And it's just not realistic. That's why I don't know. It just makes no sense to me. Myles Garrett had the exact same issue as well. Well, issue in his rookie year as well. Number 1 overall pick, so supposedly even better overall player here. 0 sack versus Detroit versus the Detroit Lions, where he only got himself 1 tackle and 1 quarterback hit. Versus Jacksonville, he got 1 solo tackle, 3 in total. Oh my word, he's just so insane. Versus Baltimore, 1 tackle. That's a solo tackle. Oh my word, what a bust. This guy is not worth that number 1 overall pick because he didn't have every single game with a sack or some insane stat line. It's just ridiculous. I've been seeing people hate on him on Twitter. I've been seeing him on Discord because he doesn't have an amazing stat line every single game. But yeah, what up, Rams house? How you doing? No, it's just brighter because of the lighting in my room, and also just because my hair's been cut, so it just looks, I guess, more fresh. But yeah, yeah. I just decided to show up with drip and my hearing aid reveal. But yeah, I just think it's ridiculous that Hutch is just supposed to be perfect in his rookie year. I mean, if we're gonna have to give off like he has to have a sack a game, half a sack a game, or like a bunch of freaking tackles, and Myles Garrett wasn't worth the number 1 overall pick. Nick Bosa wasn't worth the number 2 overall pick. It it's just crazy to me that we have this extremely high expectation for Hutch to just be perfect. Don't get me wrong, I would prefer if he was playing better. I'd prefer if he was getting more tackles. Hutch is not perfect. I'm not saying Aiden Hutchinson is perfect, but it's ridiculous to expect him to be perfect every game. I think that's the even more worst thing, where you always have to make some kind of insane play, especially when he's double teamed so much. I mean, what do you expect a rookie, who not the most refined in the NFL, who's only played 3 games? One of them, he was having an ankle injury. I mean, not ankles, like a calf, actually, week 3. And in the other one, he also played with Charlie Horse. And the other one, he was facing one of the best O-lines in football. And he's still producing at a pretty good level. But because he's not doing perfect, apparently he's not worth the number 2 overall pick. It's just ridiculous to me that we have such an expectation there. This is kind of like when Lions fans immediately dipped out on Penei Sewell during week 4 and week 5 last season. A good friend of mine named Izzy actually even mentioned that. Penei Sewell had a terrible game versus Minnesota, and then I think his next game was also terrible. And people ran for the hills. We're like, oh, Penei Sewell's a bust, should have drafted Slater, yada, yada, yada. And it's just not, that's just not true. Penei Sewell did terrible. But I mean, I don't really respect Pro Football Focus all that much. But right now, Pro Football Focus has Penei Sewell as the best right tackle in football right now. It's just ridiculous to me that's such a thing. Especially because this. One Pride 40 says he should have a better game against the Hawks. I do think so too. I'm kind of thinking that 4 tackle range, a sack, maybe a pressure or 2. But yeah, I already did. I already showed Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa in there. I don't want to go overboard with my defense there, but yeah, it's just absolutely it's just hilarious that it's supposed to be like that. I've been seeing in all forms of Discords and people saying, "Oh, bust." Like I even saw a guy that we couldn't even draft named Trayvon Walker, and people are like, "Oh, the Jags were called stupid because they drafted Trayvon Walker. What a fool!" Now they're looking bad because Trayvon Walker's objectively better. This Trayvon Walker must be a bust too, guys. Because let me pull up his little game by game real quick. Because Trayvon Walker, what a bust. He had he had 2 tackles versus Indianapolis. That's all he did versus Indianapolis. Woo! Versus Jacksonville, he had 2 assisted tackles. He didn't even get a solo tackle. He didn't get a quarterback hit, and he didn't get a sack. Is Trayvon Walker terrible now? Can we start bashing on Walker now and start saying Trayvon Walker's a bust? Or are we just going to continue this weird Aiden Hutchinson hate because Trayvon Walker at least gets a pass defense or interception? What is this? What is this? I think it's just absolutely ridiculous to kind of go after people for because Hutch isn't perfect 90% of the plays. It's just ridiculous. I'm still very happy with Hutch's performance. And I expect better still, but I'm very annoyed with this, as you guys can tell. And I agree, he's still in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then, of course, I'm going to also give a little bit of I was wrong stream. A little bit. Jeffrey Ryokuda has been killing it. I wasn't so much of a Jeffrey Ryokuda hater. I was kind of set up more of a wait and see. Kind of was like, I don't expect him to have a comeback year, but I don't expect him to do bad either. I kind of was treating him like a sophomore cornerback coming out of his maybe a bad rookie year. But Jeffrey Ryokuda has been shutting down guys. He shut down Justin Jefferson. He shut down Terry McLaurin. He shut down Devontae Smith. This is a guy that is being really freaking impressive. He has a 60% completion percentage right now, 0 touchdowns allowed, and a 74.6 rating. That is freaking awesome. That is really good for a team. And some of them, and that's not even counting maybe a zone play, such as we know versus Philly. One of the catches that was allowed was just for whatever reason, he was really lined up really far on his own play, and just AJ did a little bit of a cut and catch. So that's not even counting that kind of context. He's allowed only 108 yards in 3 weeks, so he's allowed a 21 yards versus Philly, 39 yards versus Washington, and 48 versus Minnesota. It is just crazy that he's gotten this much better, and he's just amazing. This is why you can always expect players to get better. This is why I also think maybe it's an example of don't freaking attack Hutch. We're seeing Hutch is already doing more than Jeffrey did his rookie year, but now we're seeing Jeffrey Ryokuda just ball out after you gave him time, gave him real stuff to work with, and now he's doing way better. But yeah, that's just right in there. But yeah, and then I gotta say also Jared Goff has also been playing a little bit better. Even my expectations. So I know maybe Minnesota wasn't the biggest stat line, but even Jared Goff was getting a lot of praise for the Minnesota game. He was out here running the ball well. Not running the ball well. He was running away from pressure real well. He's seeing it. He made some throws on the run that even the announcers were even talking about, that Jared Goff has improved his throwing on the run abilities. He's been making a lot more on-target throws. He's number 2 for catchable ball rate right now. He's Here, actually, I'll pull up some of the stats right now just to show you guys. Here you go, player profiler. So, he still has his stuff that he needs to fix. He's an 8 in deep ball attempts. That's something that needs to be fixed, but he does have. There's some context to that I'll mention later. Even though his protection rate's is 26 in the league, by the way, so he's just been impressing everybody. He's number 9 in money throws. He's 14th in pressure throw amount of pressure throws. I don't know if completed. 5th in passing touchdowns. His air yards per attempt has also improved to 8.3, which is 10th in the league. Something a lot of people really got at him for last year because he wasn't aggressive. And for those people that are crazy and love fantasy and even determine to play about it, he's 9th in fantasy per game. He's 7th in accuracy rating. His true completion percentage is 66.1%, which would be 21st, but we don't know how that'd be. His deep ball completion percentage is 19th. Kind of, it's okay, I guess. But we need a lot more deep ball success there. His clean pocket completion percentages needs to improve. There's stuff that he still needs to be a little bit better in efficiency. But overall, he's improving. But the thing is, it also does not help at all as we are number 2, apparently. I'm guessing this is including the latest game that just happened. But he has 9 drop passes. We have number 1 drop rate in the NFL. As we can see right here, 83.1, second most catchable ball rate. Pressured catchable pass rate, he's 13th in the league. Deep ball catchable pass rate is 20th. That needs to improve. His clean pocket accuracy rating is an 8.4. His under pressure accuracy rating is a 7.0, which is 8th. And his red zone accuracy rating is 5th, which is 9.0. So he's actually been pretty dang good in the red zone for us. He's 4th in man coverage throw rate, which is interesting than what he's facing. So I might do a little bit of video on maybe things he needs to get better. But overall, yeah, man, he is just showing some great ability. And he's also has a 104.8 rating versus man, by the way. That's something I did not see coming in this year. So he's overall just done a lot better than I think people give him credit for. Yeah. And Rams House says Okuda comeback player of the year. I gotta kind of agree right now, man. I gotta agree. One Pride 40 says we need to start Chase Lucas. So that actually is an interesting thing. I don't know if many people actually really have issues with Mike Hughes. I'm seeing a lot more people dog on Amani O, who is actually doing terrible right now. He's been allowing too many big plays. But Mike Hughes is having maybe arguably a career worst year. Let me show you his game by game real quick. So Hughes was only targeted once versus Philly, which, okay, yeah, it's 100%, not too bad. Did allow us a 27-yard catch. Washington, he was awful, 90% completion percentage, 104 yards, and a 110 rating. This next week, 50%, 1 touchdown, 130.6 rating, so still pretty dang bad. In fact, it's arguably one of his worst games. And so Hughes needs to improve a lot. I don't know necessarily about starting Chase Lucas. I do like Lucas, but we'll see. We'll see if maybe it's that bad enough that we need to start the rookie. But I do have some liking towards him. I don't know if he's even had some snaps yet. Let me see. Yeah, he's only had 2 snaps, so he hasn't even done much. So we'll see if before we need to start the grab Chase Lucas train. But might need to. I wouldn't mind it. Who knows? I was also told that Aaron Glenn wants to start Jerry Jacobs at the slot, so maybe prepare for that. I don't know if I like moving outside corner to slot. And so yeah. One Pride 40 says I do believe we need another edge next to Hutch. I think it's like our last need right now, man. Yeah, Charles Harris, and Harris is fine. We need ourselves a better defensive tackle. We need another linebacker. We need a corner opposite of Ryokuda. We need a slot corner. We might even need a new defensive coordinator. I just think that's like our last need right now. And so yeah, I just think that's part of there. Overall, though, I think we also are. I think this is one thing I want to give out of the message. I'm seeing a lot of people like already give up, which is crazy because one moment they're excited because we beat the Commanders, we're going to the playoffs. Oh my gosh! And then we lose to the Vikings, which was mostly our own fault. And it's like, oh, same old Lions. We're not making the playoffs. We're terrible. People got to remember that we have a rookie offensive coordinator, a second season head coach, a second season defensive coordinator, or even the assistant head coach is only his second season as an assistant head coach for us. Our top receiver is a second year receiver. Reynolds has never been much of a top target. And so we're a young team that even like our right tackle is young. And so we're what top 5 in youngest rosters, and we have one of the youngest head coaching teams as well. There's going to be coaching errors that maybe a veteran coach wouldn't make, and so it's just got to be expected. There's going to be growing pains as the season goes along. It's going to be better. The Pride of Detroit had a good article, and Campbell actually hasn't had that too many coaching mistakes as in terms of clock management, so he's going to get better. It's just I think he got a little bit like he really just didn't want to lose, and I think he tried to play a little more of a smart conservative side, I guess. But I do think also maybe another need we need to have over Edge is we need a new kicker, man. Austin Seibert's and so we dropped Riley Patterson, a guy who even Campbell said is a golden leg inside the 49 to 10. But of course, he stuck to the long range kickers. And so we kept Austin Seibert, who wasn't quite as accurate in between the 49 to the 10, because we kept the longer range kicker Seibert, who then proceeded to miss both his long kicks. It was really frustrating. I know it's only one game, but it's a bit frustrating that we dropped Seibert, who I kind of was like, okay, dude, this could be a good addition. Maybe guys now is accurate, but more explosive as a kicker and can be more clutch for us. So, but yeah, man, I just think it's a thing. I might consider Chase Lucas if Hughes does terrible again, especially if it's a no-name player that Hughes is terrible against versus Seattle. But yeah, but that's one thing there. So that's gonna be all that I think I really have for today. I guess I just wanted to show off the hearing aids. I'll see if maybe I can get a Lions roundtable. See if I can do something there, and yeah, that's going to be my video for today, guys. I will see you guys later. It was nice seeing you all, and have a good day. One Pride.